Here are our top 5 tips for traveling with autistic kids. I'm pretty sure we set some records of traveling the most with autistic kids. Our friend Asa from Fathering Autism posted this on their community page. After one of our children had a near-death experience, we decided to focus on creating experiences with our kids. So we did what any family would do. We sold our house, bought an RV, and visited all the national parks in the US. We traveled over 31,000 miles, visited 45 states, and all in an RV with 5 kids, with 2 who are autistic. After such an adventure, we learned a thing or two. Here are our top 5 tips for traveling with autistic kids. And as a bonus, we'll be sharing how our family drove in our RV 1,000 miles in a day, crossing 6 states. We drove from Arkansas all the way to Florida. This trip was especially memorable because of all that we learned. And we get up early. Way too early. And the kids are a big help. It takes longer than we think to even get on the road. Slide number 1 is in, and then we just got 2 to go. You ready to go to Florida?
It's crazy. I thought we could get out in under an hour, but we still didn't get out in under an hour. An hour and 8 minutes from wake up to leaving.
And we only stopped twice for gas. We went in to see if we could get some sunflower seeds. And we came out with, rock candy, peanuts. Apparently there's a cap on how much gas you can put on one credit card. I'm very impressed with how green the southern states are. Our first tip for traveling with kids with autism is don't be too worried about cultural and society expectations. Seriously, don't care what other people think. It's hard sometimes because a lot of people don't understand what it's like to parent someone with autism. And you always get looks and glares of people who just don't get it. I personally am not as patient a parent when I'm worried about what strangers are thinking or if I feel like they're judging my parenting. But when I'm focused on the needs of my child, always a better situation. If your kid needs a meltdown, let him have a meltdown in a safe place where you can support him. If your child needs extra time or extra space, then let them have it, even if other people need to wait. Sometimes that's difficult to ask that of people, but maybe they need to learn some patience too. When we took our kids in caves, Ezra, our autistic nonverbal 7-year-old, would get so happy he'd yell, and some people thought that he was kind of loud. Of course, our family is used to his noises. A lot of times we don't even notice how loud he gets. But this was a time when we had to make do and had to ask for some people's patience. I mean, what are we gonna do? Tell him not to be happy? This was one reason why I loved Carlsbad, because you didn't have to have a cave tour. No one had to wait for us. We could just go at our own time, our own pace. And if Ezra was being kind of loud, we could go off where there weren't a lot of people. Even though some people were annoyed, I tried to just take it with a grain of salt, knowing that my purpose here was to have a wonderful experience with my kids. And not necessarily to try to please every stranger we meet. I know that might sound mean, but if someone really has a problem that I'm bringing my child into public, that's their problem, and it's not going to affect how I treat my child. Tip number 2. Don't be afraid to adapt to the situation to support your child's needs so they can be involved in the activity. Noise-canceling headphones may stick out, but who cares when it means your child can enjoy the same activity as the rest of the family. Something we use a lot for Ezra, and I mean like everywhere we go, is a toddler leash. And yes, some people don't approve, but anyone who looks closely or talks to us will understand very quickly that Ezra is the kind of kid that would run off a cliff. He has little awareness of safety. But when we want to take the whole family down the Grand Canyon, you can see that video here, we don't want to leave Ezra behind. We don't want any of our kids to miss out. And if it's super hot in the RV, we let our boys take off their shirts. What is it gonna hurt? On our big trip to Florida, that's just what we did. Hey, Ezra. Hey, Ezra. He said his mouth like open super wide. Tip number 3, bring snacks, drinks, and meals that your children are used to. A lot of times, different tastes and textures of food can really set my autistic kids off. We're very used to this since half of our family are gluten-free, and a lot of times we have to take regular stops at grocery stores just to get the food our children can eat. But this is also a comfort when a child is in a new place and you give them a snack that you know they like. It can help ease anxiety. And in case you do have food that maybe your kids don't usually like or aren't used to, here's a trick that I used that actually worked on our way to Florida. One thing that I thought was interesting enough to note, my 2-year-old usually doesn't like spaghetti, but we had some spaghetti leftovers, so I cooked it with them, and as I was eating it in front of him, he all of a sudden liked spaghetti. Imagine that. It's funny how that happens. Now that doesn't always work, but it's worth a try. Tip number 4, plan ahead. Plan ahead as much as you can. Call ahead, letting the place know that you'll be visiting and you've got a child who's autistic. For visiting the national parks, it wasn't really necessary for us to call ahead. But when we took our kids to Disneyland, you can see that video here. We were so grateful that days before we went, we had a pass so that our autistic kids didn't have to wait in line for hours. They still had to wait, but they didn't have to wait in line, because honestly, that wouldn't have been a pleasant experience for our child or our family or anyone within earshot of our sons. Disneyland had many accommodations I was very impressed with. If we hadn't called ahead, we would have had to wait for hours at the park before getting any ride time in. Calling ahead at a restaurant, an airport, or a hotel can really make the experience a lot better. Once we get to our campsite, we're locked out. The place is so huge, when we finally get in, it takes us an hour to get into our camp spot. But we finally get everyone in bed by 12:30 at night. That makes for a 21-hour day.
So from 3:30 to 12:30, 6 states, 1,000 miles, 5 kids, RV.
The 5th and final tip is have a schedule planned. But remember, try not to push the schedule too much and try to be flexible. We were surprised sometimes with which activities our kids liked. Sometimes we thought they would love certain things that they ended up hating. The first time we babysat 5 autistic kids, our 2 sons, and 3 boys from the Autism family, Ian, Colin, and Alistair, we didn't have a schedule. And it was okay, but the second time we babysat them, we got smarter. It went a whole lot smoother when the kids knew what to expect.
My car's loading up. Yeah. Then we had ice cream, which is what we just did. And then you two came, so we kind of have to go. You guys see a movie? Yeah, we got to see Cars 1.
You can see that video here. You may wonder why we travel so much with our kids. We know that both our autistic kids, Ezra and Simon, love nature and love spending time with the family. When we were in the RV, we got to do this a lot. The kids would just laugh and laugh as we went on hikes, and we were able to make some amazing memories. I want to teach my boys and all my kids to never let a diagnosis define their destiny. Please consider subscribing. We post daily of our unique normal and our adventures visiting the national parks. Please tell me in the comments. I want to know what has helped you as you travel, whether you're autistic or you have autistic kids. We only mentioned 5 here, and I know there's more. You can see our autism playlist here. And here's a quick video where our family rates all the national parks in just 5 minutes.